Hey guys, welcome back to their vlog. So we got a really cool story today. This is Dan Wilson. Dan's my father, call him Pops. My father and I have been working together for many years. I started the business in '99. Business has been going strong for 22 years now. And I want to say it was right around maybe 2004 or so, you retired from flying, is that right?
Yeah.
Joined aboard Predator, and then we hit the ground running together, did all kinds of really cool stuff. Want to share one of those really unique stories with the audience here today. We've got some really cool stuff that we've done together, training special forces groups out in the middle of the desert for weeks on end, night vision. I mean, really cool stuff. We'll get into another story another day. I think the one that we wanted to share first and foremost was the trip to Japan. I think it was about 2010. We got approached by a longtime customer, and he asked us to come over and build a Duramax converted truck for him. Well, I mean, I guess we could probably do that. We talked back and forth and said, okay, let's do that. And so we're gonna share that story with you today.
Yeah, we first built that engine up here. And then had the engine and everything shipped to them. Then we flew out there, yeah.
Yeah, so we got that engine fully built, dialed in, running, test ran on the bench. So the whole thing was pre-wired, ready to go, so we could hit the ground running. I didn't realize that we were gonna truly hit the ground running at like midnight in Japan, but apparently that's a thing out there.
What's interesting is they don't seem to work normal hours. It starts like maybe 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and we go until like 10 or 11 at night, and then we go out to dinner.
And then we go back to work and hang out, and yeah, it's really cool. So awesome people, awesome country, awesome culture. Definitely an amazing trip for myself, and I know for you, and just to experience all the camaraderie out there from the Hummer Club Japan. Hats off to the whole team out there. So backing up here, we got the engine ready to go, shipped it over there, it arrived, and then we jumped on a flight from LAX to Tokyo. Turned out to be like a 17, 18-hour flight. It was a lot longer than expected.
No, I think it was only a 12-hour. It's usually 12 hours over and 10 hours back.
Dan was a professional pilot, came from the Navy and flew the A6 Intruder, the F4 Phantom, then got into McDonnell Douglas, and got onto the Apache program and was flying the Apache in the test flight stages, the test flight years. Another really cool story, we'll get into that later, maybe another vlog, but all that history that you have flying some of these amazing birds, flew off of the Midway, the USS Midway.
USS Midway was CVA 41, and that was the first time I went to Japan.
Yeah.
Was in 1961.
A lot of history there, flying for everyone from the Navy to obviously the Apache program, which was quite a few people went into that program and only a couple came out. Fortunately, Dan came out alive, and definitely an amazing bird, and then got contracted by the US government.
General Dynamics had me do some testing for them. It was just a matter of anything I could fly, I'd love to be in. We actually took a corporate aircraft in testing they had actually redone the static source and put in another altimeter, which they shouldn't have done, but we couldn't get up to the normal speeds. So we were showing at 0.92 was the best we could get, but I knew that airplane would go right on to 9.6, 9.8 without any trouble. And so anyway, as it turns out, we wound up pushing it as far as we could. They could hear the sound barrier on the ground. I had my co-pilot ready to drop the landing gear if we did a mock tuck.
Wouldn't that rip the landing gear off?
Oh yeah, we could care less about that at that point.
Yeah.
It's just anything you could do to slow it down to keep it from mock tuck, which is what they call it. The nose actually tucks over, and down you go at Mach speed.
So you broke the sound barrier in a corporate jet.
Yes.
That's fucking badass.
It was just part of the job. And you know, it really doesn't bother you as being a pilot and so on. And your knees don't start shaking until you get on the ground anyway.
Yeah.
So you just go, oh shit, what do we do?
And then after that flight too, touches down and shuts the engines off, gets out, and the wings are leaking fuel, like literally draining fuel out of the wings.
Yeah, we lost a lot of bolts out of the wings. And also the paint had chipped off and hit up against the cowl, the engine cowl, and made big marks in it, which is surprising. I didn't think the paint chipping off would do it.
Yeah, this was in a Lockheed Martin Jetstar 2, right?
It's Lockheed Jetstar.
Let's get back on the story of Japan. So it was supposed to be a 12-hour flight, and you fly up through kind of by the Aleutians and then back down.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be like 15, 16, 17 hours, something crazy like that. And I remember looking out of the plane and I'm seeing snow-covered land. And I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't up by the Aleutians. This is like way up there. So we circled around this active volcano. We could see it out there. And as soon as we could see it, pilot came on and said, hey, we've been diverted. It's going to take a little while longer because there's all this debris up at 30, 40,000 feet. So we have to go around it. Get off the plane. We're exhausted. I mean, I just can't sleep on planes. I don't know if you slept at all, but
not much. Not much.
Just exhausted. No. Time change, jet lagged out. Walk off the plane and look up, and there is literally 30 people from Hummer Club Japan staring at us.
Yeah.
And they're clapping, and we're like, oh my gosh, this looks like a party going on here in the airport. So we go through customs, and some of the most amazing people in customs. I've been through the US customs, and it's just, they don't treat you very well. They treat you like cattle.
We had an interpreter also there.
Yeah, they brought an interpreter.
Yeah.
And so we walk out of the airport, and we're walking out, and my father says, he's all, man, I haven't been in Japan for such a long time. And all of a sudden the interpreter stops. He's got this book. He stops and he drops a book and he's like, oh my gosh, did you bomb us?
Yeah.
And he said, no, I didn't bomb you. I was in Vietnam. I wasn't in World War II. He's like, oh, okay. And so we get into the truck and we take off, and it's Shuei had a Duramax. I think it was probably 2008 Duramax truck, 2009 Duramax truck.
Yeah, it was a nice truck.
And we're just shooting down the freeway, running right along Tokyo. Jet lagged out. We've been up for probably 30 hours, and now we're driving on the wrong side of the road. Everything's confusing. I just need to go to bed. But that wasn't in the cards for us that night.
No.
So we go back to Sky Auto and we pull up, and there's like another 30 guys from the Hummer Club Japan there. It's now like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Turns out the Hummer Club Japan came from the entire country. They came from all over to hang out with us for that week that we were there. It was just amazing. These people are so devoted to the Hummer brand, more so than I've ever met in my entire life. We get into the conversion, eventually get it knocked out over the course of 3, 4, 5 days, and it was on Ishitobi-san's truck. His red wagon. If you guys are into the whole Hummer scene, you probably have seen his truck all over the internet. Very proud of his truck. So we all jump in the truck, and there's like I think it was like a couple extra people on the
And
center
I'm
area.
driving. The streets are really narrow. I would not believe that they would run a Hummer in Japan.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting, even on the freeways.
There was a camera under each side mirror. And then I realized as you were driving, you're actually driving off of this little camera screen at the top above the driver's head. And it has both cameras feeding up to the single screen so that you can see exactly where the tires are placed on the lane. And the idea there is ensuring that you are 100% in your lane and you're not traveling over into oncoming traffic. The head unit on this vehicle that we're traveling in had a full screen in there, and their technology is way more advanced than it is here in the States at the time, and probably still is today. They're just on the cutting edge of that stuff. And they had mapped out all of Tokyo on this map. So as you're driving, you have a three-dimensional display, and you have a building here, like a big tower here, and it's like a red building, and then you've got a gray building behind it that you're going around the road. And as you look up, there's a red building and a gray building. I mean, it was just, the attention to detail in Japan and from the Japanese people is phenomenal.
You know, one thing also that I remember that just came to mind, when we were driving back from the airport, late at night, all these buildings had their lights on, and people were in there working.
Yeah, it's definitely a completely different culture from what we're used to.
Oh, yeah.
I'm used to getting up at 4:30 in the morning and getting into work by 6:30, and just starting my day off early. 5 o'clock, I'm done. And then I've got the evening and I go to bed early. Over there, it's just the opposite. Talking about culture, remember we went to the temple?
Oh, yeah.
We went into this little retail shop, and this guy makes handmade knives. And it's the traditional Japanese folded metal, and he does it all by hand. Turns out his whole family has been doing it since the 1500s.
Yeah, it was like 5 centuries or something like that. That the family had been doing it. Yeah.
In the same spot. I mean, there were no floors in there, just dirt, and he's barefoot in there making knives by hand. And the whole shop that he has was probably maybe 20 feet wide by 30 feet deep or so.
Yeah.
So the size of a couple Hummers. It wasn't too big. It's just awesome culture over there.
And you know where our hotel was situated?
Yeah.
Right next to us was a tram line that went through, or a train line.
Yeah.
And underneath it were thousands and thousands of bicycles.
Yeah.
And I'd look and they all looked the same. I have no idea how anybody got their bike back.
I don't know, maybe they just share bikes.
It seemed to me maybe they did share bikes.
Yeah.
And also their toilets.
Oh, jeez.
Now, normally in Japan you have what they call a benjo ditch. Not bitch, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that, folks. A benjo ditch where everything from the toilet goes into this ditch right alongside of the fields.
I think in 1961 there was a bendo ditch, but
no, they
not
didn't.
when we were
They
there.
didn't have it when we went there. But anyway, the new toilets, like in our hotel, you push this button and you got hot water running up and down your back. You go, ooh, that feels good, you know.
Oh yeah, I have no idea.
just-
I just stayed away from all those buttons. It just
I
scared me.
told Ryan you got to push that button. You got to try that.
There's no way I was going to push that button.
I loved it.
We get done with the conversion, we wrap it all up, and at this point, I think it was like day 5 or day 6 there, everybody there just became like really good, lifelong friends of ours, and we're still in touch with them. So we ended our trip with a dinner. We went to this really nice restaurant, and you walked in there, and there's this table that sits like about that high, and a bunch of pillows on the floor that go around it. And we're in our own private room. And so we go to sit down, and everybody's talking, and you know, it's obviously, I would say about half of the guys there didn't speak any English. So we're having conversations, hand gestures and so forth, and all of a sudden it gets quiet. And we're like, and we're still talking, I'm like, wait, why is it so quiet? I'm like, what's going on? And I look around, and the waitress walks in, and she's got this plate with these bowls on there. And everybody's quiet, and they're all staring at Pops and I. And I'm going, oh crap, what is in those bowls?
Yep.
So they come over and they start placing the bowls in front of everybody. And I look over and I see this little baby squid about this big, and it's kind of like slowly moving its tentacles. And I'm like, oh, fuck, what am I gonna do? And so place it down here, look down at it like this. I look at my dad, and he's looking at it like this, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him going, how do we get out of this? And I look down the table, and everybody down the table is staring back, looking at us, and I was like, oh. I'm looking at it, he's like, hands me this soy sauce. And I think it was soy sauce, like a brown sauce.
Yeah.
I put it into it, which probably, I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but this thing comes alive. And now it wakes up. And now it's like, whoa, I don't like soy sauce. And I'm like, oh, crap. What am I going to do? I'm like, all right, throw this thing in my mouth. Let's just do this. So I throw it in my mouth. I bite down on it. It's like this mustard paste explosion in my mouth. And I'm like, oh, and I swallow it. And I'm like, and surprisingly, it wasn't bad.
And then everybody looks at me, and I'm going, what? I get my chopsticks, and I know, okay, I got to eat this thing. Put it in my mouth, and it was just like you said, exploded in your mouth. Yeah.
We got to see Kai Tamono's trucks. He has 2 really cool trucks. One of them was the Off-Road America Hummer. And some of you old-time people, you're going to remember Off-Road America was a shop, a lot like Predator, many, many years ago, and they did a 502 conversion. So they take out the original engine, drop a 502 gasser in there, and so their shop show truck had all kinds of coolers on there. It was like a Baja rally truck, and Kai Tamono ended up buying it and shipping it to Japan, which he drives around all over the place, and it still has all the logos and graphics. Just an amazing truck. And then the other truck that he has was his, I think it was a 92 H1, and it's lifted, and it's got like red accessories on there. I've got a bunch of pictures of that as well. And just an amazing truck, definitely iconic, different, eccentric, but that's who the Japanese people are. Very eccentric, 100% into their vehicles. We saw some really cool upgrades that they did and got to see a lot of their culture, and we definitely appreciate their friendship over the many years that we've known them. Can't wait to get back out there again soon, hopefully. Hopefully this whole coronavirus stuff settles down and we can get out there. But just absolutely amazing trip. Definitely appreciate all of our friendship with Hummer Club Japan, Sky Auto, Ishitobi-san, Shuei, and then obviously Kai Tamono. Interesting little tidbit of information. Kai Tamono was one of my first customers ever, and I sold him a D-ring, well, it's called a detachment brush deflector, and he was the very first person who bought that, and I had to figure out how to ship it over to Japan, and I think I was probably like 21 years old at the time, like, geez, how am I gonna get this over to Kai Tamono? I gotta figure this out. So a lot of history going way, way back. Appreciate everything, guys. Thanks so much for having us, and I hope you guys enjoyed the story. We'll keep some more stories coming, maybe some jet fighter stories and other cool stuff that you've gone through in your crazy life. But until then, thanks for watching so much, and make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. See you guys soon.
Have anything you want to say, Dan?
No, that's it. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
Just thank you, huh?
Oh, yeah. Now let me
Thank
out of
you.
here.